From Hurt to Heal, the space where we have real conversations about pain, healing, and becoming whole again. I'm your host, Vicky.
I think Vicky froze. Sounds like she froze. So um, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is
B.
Jamie Kirk.
You are so today. I am honored to introduce a
Oh,
truly
there she
impactful
goes.
guest for
There she
tonight's
goes.
conversation, Jamie Kirk. Jamie is a licensed marriage and family therapist, author, and speaker with over 15 years of experience helping individuals heal from trauma, navigate grief, and build healthy relationships. So she's also the founder and executive director of a New Beginning Mental Health and Wellness, a nonprofit dedicated to supporting at risk and homeless youth. Jamie, welcome to the show. And
Thank
let
you for
everyone
having
know
me.
thank you. And let everybody know who Jamie Kirk is.
Jamie Kirk. Oh, I'm a plethora of things. I'm originally from Los Angeles, California. Moved to Atlanta, Georgia about 4 years ago. I have a 25-year-old son. I have a daughter who would have been 22, but she passed away at 3 days old. I'm an
Sorry to hear that.
author. I'm a licensed therapist. I'm a life coach. I don't really like to say, I'm an ordained minister because I don't like to be judged, right? Because, once you say certain things, people want to look at you with a fine, big tone. So, but yes, I do put God in everything. I'm also the founder of a New Beginning Mental Health and Wellness. Well, we do focus on helping unhoused teens and at-risk youth. We do workshops and different fundraisings to raise money to help with prom, graduation, and hygiene products. So, like I said, I do a plethora of things. And we did like we lost her for a second. So until she comes back, I'll just tell a little bit about what made me go into this field. And I'm just gonna base it with my own pain. I went through childhood trauma. Lost my father at a young age. My mom was in and out of jail on drugs, and so it was difficult growing up. And they say hurt people, and so you can either hurt people or you can heal people. And I decided that instead of taking my trauma and turn it into something where I'm going to be hurtful towards others, I decided that I wanted to help others heal. And so that has been my journey for the past 14 years. I've been in the mental health community since 2012, actually. And that's a little bit on me. I'm trying to see if we're going to get Vicky back in here. We're going to run her show. And so I know we was going to talk about relationships and how past traumas could affect those things. And so I'm going to go off of the some of the questions that I'm usually asked when it comes to building relationships or how childhood trauma or past trauma can affect relationships. And so let's start back with your childhood, right? How you were raised and the things that you've experienced as a child usually determines how you attach to people, how you create boundaries, and how you communicate. Right? If you were, um, let's say you were neglected as a child, and oh, you're back, Vicky, you're back. Hold on, I think Vicky back. Is it? She's trying to come back in, you guys. Trying to come back in. Say the devil is a lie. And come on back in here, Vicky. Well, until we get Vicky back. Oh, is she? I see her trying to chime back in. Are you back? Uh-oh.
Oh my goodness. I am so
Okay, you
embarrassed.
back.
Oh. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. But yeah, you're freezing really bad. You're freezing.
Okay,
Oh
so
no.
and I apologize like again, I am work. And what made you passionate about helping people heal from trauma and build healthier lives?
And you know what? I was, well, in your absence, I was trying to hold it down for you. I was trying to hold it down for
I
you.
appreciate it.
I was, so and it was something that I was saying. It was my own trauma. I'm coming from Los Angeles, California. I grew up in the hood. I grew up in the hood to parents who were gang members, drug dealers, and so growing up in that lifestyle, I've experienced a lot, witnessed a lot, and when I go down the list of trauma, I think the only thing that I didn't check off was being kidnapped, but I'm not 100% sure about that, right? And so I had to decide, do
Okay.
I want to keep feeling this way, right? Um, Growing up in that type of environment where your family really don't pay much attention to you, right? Your parents, my father died when I was 5 due to his lifestyle, um, gang banging, selling drugs. And my mom, she's been clean 26, 27 years now. But back then, there was a lot of neglect, right? And then I dealt with childhood abuse, sexual abuse, like physical abuse, mental abuse, and it made me feel some type of way. Right. And when you feel some type of way about yourself, it hinders you from a bright future. You kind of just go with the flow of life and you just kind of end up in a place where you're not happy. And so I got tired of feeling like that. And so once I created a process of
Mm-hmm.
healing myself, right, going to church and just under, understanding me, creating a better relationship with myself. And so once I had a better relationship with myself and I learned my own healing, then, going to school to be a therapist as well will help you teach people how to heal. And so that's what truly started my journey on to become a healer for others. And really, when I think about it, it's who God really called me to be anyway, because, everything that we go through in life is meant to help or heal someone else, right? And so when we have, our traumas and our pains, it I'm not quite sure even how to pronounce it's a feeling, right? When you feel um that you're not valuable, right? If you don't feel that, you're not supported, then you're going to move a certain type of way. You're not going to give yourself full advantages that you would if you would felt a little bit more positive about yourself. And so I started to teach myself that I'm capable, that I am smart enough. And although life didn't hand me, gold silverware, I'm still able to do it myself. I'm still able to create that life for my son myself. But it's about creating that process, right? And so I think the scary part is the process for people, because when you start to set a plan and then things start to go what we may feel bad, then we feel like then it's not working. It's not meant to be. It's not the plan. But every valuable thing, like anything that's worth anything, has to go through a process, and the process is never pretty, right? If a plant, in order for a seed to become a plant, it has to be buried, right? It has to go through water and heat, and being a seed, the seed doesn't know what's going on. It just knows that it's being taken from its environment. We got Vicky coming back. It's being taken from its environment in order to grow. So I'm holding it down, Vicky. I done lost my background.
I appreciate it. I don't know what's going on tonight. My daughter just told me it's a storm coming through, so that might be what it is.
Oh, okay,
I
okay.
don't know what it is right now, and I apologize because usually it's on point. So, like I said, if you see me drop off, just go ahead and keep doing your thing. Okay, so you answered the first question. So let me ask, what did you see early on that made you realize how
Uh-oh. She
trauma
You going in and out.
impacts people? I'm gonna have to get somebody to step in for me.
Yeah, you going in and out.
I am so sorry. I don't know what's happening. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
You
I can
can't
hear
hear
you
me?
now.
Okay, let me
Yes,
ask you
I
this
can hear you
question because
now.
if you don't see me, we're gonna still try and talk. So,
Okay.
let's see. What are some signs someone might be operating in? You know what? Let's go back because I apologize. Did you answer what did you see early on that made you realize how deeply trauma impacts people and relationships?
No, I haven't answered that.
Okay.
How trauma deeply impacts people in relationships is we create we create well, we don't create boundaries, right? We learn not to have boundaries, or we have rigid boundaries. It affects how we attach to people, right? And so, depending on how your childhood was, is going to determine how you attach to people. Um, do you have a secure attachment, or are you anxiously attached? Are you worried when you don't hear from them? If they're mad at you, are you worried that they're not going to talk to you? So now you're anxious, and now and that's not healthy, right? That's not healthy because now you're not in a calm space, because you're always questioning if are you good enough, or are you doing something wrong. Or you can become rigid. You can become rigid in your boundaries, and so now these are my boundaries. You can't cross this, and I can't compromise, right? We lack compromise, and then also we become avoidant, right? And so instead of handling problems, we don't communicate, we shut down. And so those are things that affects our relationship, that comes from trauma. It comes from how we were raised. We were taught that not to speak up, right? We were taught
Mm-hmm.
not to create boundaries. And if you really think about it, in a lot of Black households, where we teach our young kids not to have boundaries. We tell them hug people even when they don't want to. We tell them to do things with people even when they don't want to. And so we teach them that their boundaries isn't important. And so you either grow up not having boundaries, or because somebody didn't respect your boundaries, now you're very rigid. And so it always stems from childhood, and then we're going to add on new experiences that causes you not to trust people. Uh-oh. Can you hear me? Oh, and she's gone. Okay. So I can elaborate until she comes back. One thing, and I can give an example. Let's talk about someone who, and we're not even going to talk about like like real neglect, right? We're not going to talk about your parents doing other things. Let's just talk about the two-parent household that's working, right? You have a mom and dad that's working and has to go to work, and so they're not as attentive as needed. That can cause some problems as well. That can cause people to act out for attention, right? You hear these two-parent households and the kids are running the streets and getting in trouble, and so it's not there's never a perfect household. It's just all on how you um, see yourself coming out of it.
That makes a lot of sense. And again, I apologize for going in and out. I cannot control this for some reason. So let's go ahead and keep going. So I think a lot of people don't even realize how much their past is showing up in their
Mm-mm. Oh no.
present. From your experience, how does I am seriously freezing. All right, let's just do this a different way.
Okay. Uh-oh. We lost her again. We lost her again. Um, so let's go back into relationships until she comes back. So, as I was saying about being in a two-parent household, it's not about single mom, two-parent household, single dad, right? Everybody's gonna have something coming out of something. The where we fail is when we think that this is just the way we are. This is who I am. You're gonna have to deal with it. And that's why you're going to constantly have problems in your relationship because change comes from within, right? You have to want to be a better person for yourself and have a better relationship with yourself so that you can have better relationships with other people, right? And it starts by communicating, right? And that's where a lot of us lack. We don't truly communicate exactly what we're feeling. We may communicate when we're happy, we may communicate when we're mad, but how often do we actually say, I feel disrespected, or when you say this, it makes me feel like this, instead of just saying, I'm mad, you did this and you did that, right? Looking into the underlying feeling, because anger is what we call the tip of the iceberg, right? It's what we show, but underneath all of the water, right, you got the real the bulk of the iceberg, which is what you're truly feeling. So anger is what you're showing, but you're angry because you feel something else. And so learning to identify what is it that I'm feeling, right? And then why am I feeling this way? What about what this person is doing or saying is making me feel this type of way? Now, once you analyze that and you still like, okay, well, it needs to be rectified, then that's when communication comes in. And it's just like, hey, when you said this, it really makes me feel unvalued, right? Or when you say this or when you do this, it makes me feel unseen or disrespected. So having a lack of communication skills come from shutting down, right? And just uh, what we say, it is what it is, and it doesn't have to be that way. I think we got Vicky coming back. You're muted.
Me, Jamie.
Yes, I. Uh-oh.
Okay, so I'm gonna go to the next question.
Okay.
And you may have to just go ahead and talk a little bit more because I'm gonna transfer to another um, type of way to talk to you. So we often think of grief as losing a person, but there's another layer to it. Can you talk about the grief that shows up in relationships? Losing trust, losing a version of yourself, or even losing what you thought something would be?
Yeah. You know, most people think about grief is just as death and losing someone, but grief is losing yourself, right? Losing what you thought a relationship or a marriage or a person um, could be. And, you know, there's stages of grief, right? You have your denial, right? You have your anger, you have your depression, you have your bargaining, and then you have your acceptance. And it's called stages because it's continual. Like, grief isn't something that just comes and then goes, because it's constant. You're constantly losing people to death, but you're also constantly living with some kind of disappointment, right? And so you learn to live with it. And so maybe you're in denial, right? And you don't realize that it's a level of grief, but it shows up in ways where now you may be angry, right? And so you may find that you and your partner are arguing a lot more because, you know, you expected X, Y, and Z, and this is not what you're getting. And so now you may be angry, right? Or you may be depressed, right? A lot of women and men get into relationships because they, you know, it was fun and it was exciting in the beginning, and then when it's down to the meat of it, they realize that they don't have the same goals, they don't have the same drive, and sometimes instead of making those decisions, we just grudgingly stay together, right? And see, now we're grieving the life and the relationship that we thought we were going to have, or the person that we thought we were going to have. And so it comes, and then when we add kids to it, right? We add kids to the
Mhm.
structures. Then we grieve the a life that we thought that we was gonna have at a certain age, right? I'm pretty sure 90% of people could say, you know, I should have been here. I should have been doing this with my life, right? And so that's a grief right there, living with the shoulda, coulda, wouldas is what my grandma would say. So, did we lose you again, Vicky?
Okay, so I have to apologize. I found out somebody ran into one of the
Uh-oh. Oh, somebody ran into a transformer.
transmitters. Yeah, so that's
Okay, transmitter. I call it a transformer. Lord have mercy.
going. Oh my goodness. Okay. I might have to have you come back because I am not feeling this right now, but let's try and finish. Okay, so how does that unprocessed grief affect future relationships?
You go in. Hold on, wait. Just look around. Look on social media. Look on social media. People
Mm-hmm.
are. They have these standards, right? You hear, oh, all men is X, Y, and Z, or all women are X, Y, and Z, and so you go back into the dating scene with this stigma that men are this or women are this, right? And so that's gonna hinder you right there if you think that all women are this, then you're gonna judge that person and then probably communicate with that person according to where you think that they are, right? And so that starts it off
Mm-hmm.
bad right then and there, because we go with
Mm-hmm.
these preconceived misconceptions of what people are, because we think
Right.
that, oh, because he's a black man or he's a white man or he's this man, that he gonna operate this type of way. But we fail to look at in ourselves, right? Because we hear about, and I heard this for years. You're fishing in the wrong pond. People always say pick better. You're in the wrong pond. And when we think about it, you know, the pond is a mindset, right? Wherever your mindset is where you're going to be, and those are the type of people you're going to gravitate to, are going to gravitate to you. And so if you find yourself always picking the same type of people just in different bodies, then you got to work within yourself so you can put yourself into another pond, because it takes a different mindset to go into another pond to get a better grade of people.
So
It's
how do you
always going to be
realize?
self.
How do people realize that they're doing that? Because a lot of people don't realize that they're picking the same type of person in a different body. A lot of people don't realize, they don't realize that that's a what's the right word, a chain effect, or you, so it's something that you're used to. And how do they make that mindset to change themselves to be able to find somebody different?
I think everybody have their aha moment. You gotta have that. When you tired, when you tired and you're tired and you get tired of
Mm-hmm.
yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's when you get tired of yourself. At some point, that reality gotta come. And you can't keep blaming everybody else. You can't keep pointing the finger at everybody else, because you the
Mm-hmm.
common denominator. Whether they are wrong or not, you are allowing that into your environment, right? And you're not setting healthy boundaries, not rigid boundaries, but healthy boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you keep allowing people, and then sometimes we think we can love people to change, right? If I love them, they're going to be different, but love don't change anybody that don't want to be changed,
That's right.
right? And so if anything, love needs to start with you, so you'll change you first, right? That
So
how
how
many
do they
people are
realize
willing to
that?
have that conversation with themselves?
Right. That's the thing, having that conversation and looking in the mirror and saying, okay, maybe it's something I need to change. Because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people don't do that. It's like, okay, I'm going to blame this person for me doing this, instead of saying, you know what, I need to look at myself and
Yeah.
find out why I keep doing it. And
Mhm.
I've seen a lot of people doing it. And I guess now um, that I'm paying attention to it more, what can you tell somebody that continues to do that?
Go to therapy.
Y'all heard that?
Go to
Therapy is
therapy.
not a bad thing. A lot of
It's
people have
not.
this
It's a place for you to
misconception.
process,
Right.
right? Get some tools on how to get unstuck, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's not just the way you are, right? That's how you were developed. You
Yeah.
develop those nasty habits. You develop
Mm-hmm.
those nasty ways. And so if you develop nasty ways, then you can develop better habits. Not for somebody else, but for you. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
gonna benefit from it, but it really helps you. You feel better. You feel better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a feeling that you feel on the inside when you're always uptight. You don't know any other feeling because you've always been uptight. Right?
That's right.
And so you don't know that there's actually a moment, right? And so when I was always uptight. I used to be angry, Vicky. Angry.
Did
I
you
was
know you were
very,
angry though? Or did you realize you were angry? Or when
you
did you realize
know,
you were angry?
I realized funny thing. I realized I was angry when I was going in AutoZone to get another rear view mirror. And the guy was like, "Oh my God, what happened?" And I'm like, "Mind your business." Right? I had to go in Michael Kors. I need you to fix my watch. What happened? Mind your business, right? And so anger was costing me more than it was benefiting me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I realized I can't keep afford to get angry. I can't afford it.
Right.
Anger is expensive, and anger has never benefited me. It's only cost me. And so I needed to work on that, because yeah, I may be justified in my anger of what people have done, but who was really doing the time? Because I get angry, blood pressure up, headache. Sometimes now I'm lost my appetite. So who was really suffering in the anger? I gotta fix stuff, and then
Mm-hmm.
I'm toe up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But see, that's
Start
what happens
adding
when you
up.
start to love yourself. Yeah, when you start to love yourself, you start to not want yourself to feel a certain type of way.
Yeah, and it makes you handle things differently too in your life. It definitely makes you handle. Okay, so now I want to shift the conversation a little
Mhm.
because this connects deeply to something you've been working on. In your upcoming book,
Uh-huh.
Love Like a Business, you talk about how relationships need structure, clarity, and emotional accountability, just like a business does. So, from your
Yeah.
perspective, where is the line between healthy structure in relationships and emotional disconnection?
That's what those rigid boundaries, right? This is how this is how I want it done. This is how I am, right? And there's no communication, no understanding on another person's perspective. See, think about if you're think about me and you would have a business, CEO and CFO, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
when I almost call it husband and wife. But
Mm-hmm.
in a business, anything that we think about or with the business, we talk about it with each other. Right? Nobody goes out and make decisions about the business on their own without consulting the other person, right? We both have our jobs in the business, but we still consult each other to make sure that it's beneficial for the overall goal of the business. Right? But see, when
Mm-hmm.
we have those, when we're disconnected, then we're just like, these are my goals. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing, and
Mm-hmm.
this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. But is it contributing to the mission of the relationship? Right? Did you sit down and create? That's why I said create a mission. What's your mission
Mm-hmm.
statement? Right? Because sometimes if you sit down and create a mission with somebody, you may realize that y'all don't have the same values, and so your mission may not be the same.
Which means that you shouldn't partner up in a business.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Right. See,
Okay.
when I mention love like a business, the first thing people think of is money, right? But if your business isn't structured successfully, it doesn't make any money.
Right.
And so the goal is to learn to structure it more successfully. And so when I mention creating a mission, like what is our goals? Are we talking about marriage? And I would say I heard someone say their goal was to sit on the porch with our teeth in the cup, right?
Okay.
And what does that mean? That means longevity, right? That
Mm-hmm.
means marriage until the end. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and if that's both of our goals, right? That's the primary goal. And so now we have these sub goals. We're gonna have kids, and we're gonna travel. We're gonna buy houses. What else are we gonna do? And then
Mm-hmm.
when we do that, what's the plan on doing that and maintaining it, right? And then we know life, right? Life. And so in a
Mm-hmm.
business, we always having meetings to see how the company is doing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
so in a relationship, there needs to be a meeting. How are you doing, right? How am I doing? And how are we doing?
That's a true statement.
Yeah, what are some adjustments? Because we grow, right? We don't if 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 by the time you're married 20, 30, 40 years, you're not married to the same person you married in the beginning.
Say it. Yes. Thank you.
Because and hopefully you not the same person you was when they married you,
Exactly.
right? And so you constantly getting to know each other, you're
Mm-hmm.
constantly growing because you have your ugly moments, right? And so you're gonna have it's gonna be a stage where y'all don't like each other,
Mm-hmm.
right? But that's that part of growth, right? And then there's gonna be a stage where you love each other and you can't get enough of each other, right? But that's even part of growth. We're growing, we're still trying to understand ourselves, right? And then don't throw kids in there, right? Because then that's a whole another entity that kind of comes in between the relationship because then we start to focus solely on the kids who, let's say, we will put as employees. We solely focus on the kids,
Mm-hmm.
and now we've lost our connection. And that's not what business owners do, right? They keep their connections while still managing the kids or employees per se.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I when I wrote this, because it's a book, but it has some prompts for you could do it individually to help you be ready for a relationship, or you could do it with your partner
Mm-hmm.
to help you guys rebuild your relationship. Because there was a lot of, well, I do this and I do that, but there was never no communication on, well, what do you need?
Mm. Okay.
Right? Because
Mm-hmm.
if I'm complaining that I do X, Y, and Z, but I've never asked for help, right? What may be important to me may not be important to my partner, and that is fine, because what may be important to him may not be important to me. As long as
Mm-hmm.
his importance and my importance make the whole thing whole, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I may need help on things that are important to me, and so what do? Communicate, and it's, honey, I need help. That's your helpmate. You should be able to say, I need help. And so there's communication. So um, let's talk about risk management, right? When things are wrong, that's conflict management. Let's say the bills are behind. How are we going to make a plan for that instead of put the blame and point the finger? Right? Instead of saying, you did this, you did this. Yeah, I know. We know who did
So,
what. We know who did what, but let's fix it. What we gonna do to fix it? So
okay. So, how can people create structure, like you were saying, like boundaries and standards, without losing emotional connection?
having a conversation and having a conversation and communicating what's a boundary and why it's a boundary.
Mm.
Right. But also you want to make sure that your boundaries are, like I said, rigid. First, self-reflect. Right? Self-reflect. Is this boundary hindering a connection? Right? And trying to keep me
Mm-hmm.
in a safe space, or is this a real healthy boundary?
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's going to start with self. Why am I creating these boundaries? Like, so when we talk about boundaries, we have three sets of boundaries, right? And one that we call porous. That's like no boundaries, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I always describe porous boundaries as like having a house where, like, okay, so like the picket fence around the house,
Mm-hmm.
but you just got the stakes. You don't have the boards that go across. And so
Okay.
anything can come in your gate, in your yard, and
Right.
anything can come out, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got a dog in there, somebody can come in there and take your dog because you actually have nothing to protect you, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so then when you have rigid boundaries, I would say that's like having a house with a brick wall around it, right? Nothing can get in and nothing can get out.
That
And
man.
so, right. And so healthy boundaries is like having a house with a fence, right? And we know a
Mm-hmm.
fence always has a door, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that you can open and close it. You can let people in and you can let people out, right? It's not always about letting everybody in.
Right.
Sometimes you have to let people out and you have to be okay with it. And that's where you go to attachments, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Because if you have an anxious attachment, then you're going to stand in front of that door. You ain't going to want to
Mm-hmm.
let nobody out, no matter
Right.
how much they're damaging your house. All right.
That's real talk.
So,
That's real talk. So you know how you were saying as far as letting people in and being okay to let people out. So let's talk about
mhm.
breaking cycles. A lot of people listening may recognize patterns in their relationships. For someone who keeps eating unhealthy cycles, what are the first practical steps they can take to break that pattern?
Mhm. Identify the pattern first. Yeah. You got to identify it. Then once
Mm-hmm.
you identify it, then it depends on your healing methods, right? I'm more of a spiritual person, and I grew up in church, and so I know to let me get in my word, let me focus on God, and let me build my
Mm-hmm.
relationship with God. Because once I started to build my relationship with Him, He started changing me. He started convicted me, and he started making me not want to. It started taking that desire away. That was my way. Other people that may not use faith-based, this is where journaling comes in, right? Writing these things down and giving yourself grace, right? Giving yourself grace is not beating yourself up saying, oh, I was a bad person, I don't deserve. No, right? Because there's good and bad people, there's bad and good people, right?
That's
and
right.
so just because you had a bad moment don't mean that you're a bad person. When you recognize these are some things I need to change, then if you're not faith-based, then start journaling and being honest with yourself. This is who I am. And then identify, who do you want to be? Like, what does that look like? Mind, body, and spirit. And creating a routine for that, right? I tell my clients, I call it my Sex in the City life.
Okay, explain that, please.
Because like I've never fully watched like the season, but I've caught bits and pieces. But something that I notice is in the beginning, if you ever notice, each girl is doing something. One is journaling with her tea, one is jogging, one cooking breakfast with her kids, right? Those are all their self-care. There's little routine things to start their day. And so if I'm an angry person and I don't want to be angry anymore, and so I'm gonna start journaling, my things that make me angry and what I could do to work past those things. And so then when I come up to those things and I see it, I could be reminded. Even if I get angry, then I'm just go in my journal. Yep, it made me angry today, right? But I don't care if you every day, one day is not gonna make you angry. And that's the day you focus on. The day it stop making you angry. But you just keep working on it as much as you can and don't beat yourself up if it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that we don't give ourselves is grace. We don't ever do that. So how do you stay committed to change when it feels uncomfortable or unfamiliar?
I had a moment when maybe about 2 years ago, I was getting ready for work and God said to me clearly, you are where you've been praying to be. You was praying for this 10 years ago. Right? As I continue to see progress, I like who I become. I'm like who I'm becoming in this growth process. So that's what keeps me motivated. I like who I'm becoming, right? I'm not liking all of the stuff I used to do, right? I don't want to go all of the places I used to go, but I have this level of peace, right? I have a level of comfort, right? And it's another level of joy and happiness that I had never experienced. It's like I always needed to be in the mix. I need to be here. I need to be with people in order to feel valued. But I got to a place where I was around people and still felt alone. And so as I've been growing as a woman and as a professional and as a mom, I'm loving who I'm becoming. And so that's what keeps me motivated because I'm loving the person I'm just turning me into. And it wasn't easy, right? When we think about anything of value, it takes a process, and the process is never easy. A diamond was a lump of coal before it became a diamond. It has to go through heat, right? A beautiful plant has to go through darkness before it can sprout up to become a plant. Like anything that's wonderful, let's say, has to go through an ugly process. And so once I recognize that and I recognize who it was making me to be, and I love it, that's what keeps me on this path. And I liked what she said, get around people that motivate you to be better. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. What they say, birds of a feather flock together. You never catch a chicken with a crow. Right?
True statement. True statement.
Yeah. So your circle that really is gonna make or break you, and that's why I have people in my circle that uplift me, show up for me, and as well, start doing their own thing. My best friend, she started hosting a music festival back in California. She has a brand, and right, and when we first met, we wouldn't do neither one of us. We were just heathens running the street, and so seeing the growth in us, right? Because who are you with? Right? Seeing the growth in us. So yes,
Yeah.
get the right people around you.
So let's talk. Let me ask you this: how do you know when you have the right people around you? Is it discernment, or is it something that you like? You not recognize, or how do you know you have the right people around you? Because sometimes you want, like you say, you want to hold on to people that you've known for so long because it's familiar and comfortable.
Mhm.
So how do you make that change um, to not be so cautious? Because I know for me, I am very cautious when it's time for me to meet people and to trust people. How do you change that to where you don't block your blessing by not being a friend to somebody, or not, talking to somebody just because you feel uncomfortable?
Yeah. You know, I look at it like this. Look at your life like a theater. Okay. You are the star of this show. This is about you.
Hmm.
Everybody that is on stage with you is an asset to your purpose. And they uplift you, and they hold you accountable in a loving way, not in a demeaning way. They support you,
Hmm.
right? These are the people, your supporting cast. These are assets to your purpose. They're on stage with you. And sometimes they're not even family. Right? And
That's it.
then and you make that determination by what type of fruit are they carrying? Are they positive? If you can't hang with fruitless people and expect fruit, you can't.
Come on,
And
say that
so
again. Okay.
and so you judge a person first by their own fruit. If they fruit rotten, you might want to and you know what, Vicky, I tell people I broke up with a friend because I noticed how she operated. And then I
Hmm.
told her, I said, I don't want to be your friend anymore because you're not a safe friend for me. And I ended that friendship because I recognized the things that she was doing. It's that birds of a feather flock together, and
Hmm.
I don't want to be associated with somebody like that. Right. And so I recognized that she wasn't an asset to my purpose. And so I didn't even move her in the state. I put her on out the theater. That was me opening the gate and letting her out, closing the gate. But you have your people that, let's say, your VIP. They sit in the front row, right?
Hmm.
These are the people that you invite to your house for bigger gatherings. Because the people on stage with you, you guys have intimate dinners. I come go to each other house for intimate stuff, but the VIP, they come to your parties and stuff. You have bigger parties, you invite them.
Hmm.
Right? And then you may have your general admission people. These are the people that you see outside. I see you guys, we hang out, we go to brunch, meet up outside. They don't come to your house. You see them outside. Right?
Right.
And then you have the people in the balcony, right? You know of them, but they don't have any access to you. You just kind of see them, and then you have the people that can't even get in the theater.
Mm.
They see you, but they don't have any access to you. You place people according to their fruit.
Man, I never thought about that.
Mhm.
That's real talk. I'll say, okay, so we talked about no, let's talk about pain to purpose. So you talk about turning pain into purpose. And I love that because it gives people hope. What does that transformation actually look like in real life, especially for someone who is still in the middle of their healing journey?
Looks like me. It looks like me. Healing is lifelong. So there's no, you have your beginning of your journal, but healing is lifelong. You're going to always be healing from something because life is going to always life. You just
Mm-hmm.
learn how to process it better. Do I still have my moments? I do, but I learned how to process the moments better. I used to, having a moment where I feel like I'm gonna cry. And what we do, we suck it up, and now we try to keep ourselves busy. And so all we do is just packing it, because
Mm-hmm.
eventually it's gonna come out. And so what I learned to do is whatever I'm feeling, be in that moment. If I feel like I want to cry, I just cry, let it out. 5 minutes, I feel better. Right? It's holding it in, and then when you have that, it's the floodgates. Now you're down for days, and right, it's
Mm-hmm.
having your process, but having those routines, Vicky. Like I said, that Sex in the City life.
Mm-hmm.
I started, having a morning routine. I get up, I stretch, I pray, I go to the gym, I come back, maybe some breakfast and coffee, right? And I'm working toward life goals, right?
Mm.
And that's another thing people have to be reminded of. What are your life goals? Like, what are really your life goals? Because if you're just going with the flow of life, you got to change that. You have to change that. I look at going with the flow of life is like sitting in a kayak in the ocean, knowing that I want to go over there, but I'm just going to let the waves just take me. And the chances of it taking me to an island, yeah, eventually I'm going to hit an island. If it's not where I want to be, then I will never be satisfied. I will never be happy. So if you know that I'm not happy here, identify where your happy place and create the process to getting there. Even if it start getting rocky, because if you get your oars that's in your kayak and actually start rowing to the island that you want, it's not gonna be easy. If
Mm-hmm.
you ever seen somebody in a kayak, it's difficult.
Yes, it
It's
is.
tough, right? But if you are consistent, you are disciplined, you'll get there. Right?
I've never
In
thought about
life, yeah, in life, as long as you're intentional, you're consistent, and you're disciplined, you're gonna accomplish everything, good or bad.
the thing is being intentional, which is something that we don't do. A lot of people don't realize how important being intentional is.
Yes.
So how with that, how can somebody begin to shift intentionally from survival mode into a place of growth and purpose?
Write it down. Write your plan down. Okay? So the first thing I will tell people is to identify a goal. Identify a goal and start working toward that goal, because when you see yourself accomplishing things, you start to feel better about yourself. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It starts before you can do anything, Vicky, you got to start to feel better about yourself. You got to feel better about yourself. So start with small goals. Once you see yourself accomplishing small goals, you start to feel better about yourself. You start to feel more confident about yourself. And so it's just something small that you wanted to do, something small that you always wanted to do. Start with that. And then don't worry about being
Get
perfect
started,
at
huh?
it. Yeah.
It's just
Just if
get started. That's
It's
it.
hard.
Once you get
And
started,
don't have to be perfect with it.
that sounds good.
Like, yeah, like before, I'm not sure if people saw my background before it cut off, but that logo that I have for my nonprofit wasn't my first logo. That wasn't my first
Really?
logo. And the, the my mission wasn't my first mission. My values and my goals for the nonprofit wasn't my first goal. I want to help people, and I just jumped out there and just started. I'm gonna help people, and then as I started growing mentally, physically, emotionally,
Mhm.
spiritually in my career, then God started leading the path, because God is not going to lead the path if you're not walking on it. You see, sometimes people wait for him to light the path in order for them to start walking, but no, he lights your path as you start walking. And so you got to take the first step. Even if you're taking the first step in the wrong direction, he'll light your path to the right direction. But you got to just take that first step.
Stepping out on faith, that's all it
Yeah.
is.
Mm-hmm.
So before we close, what is one thing you would say to someone right now who is struggling emotionally, mentally, or in their relationships?
Be intentional. Be intentional, be consistent, be disciplined, and you will be okay. If you want healing, identify what that looked like and go get it. If you want a better life, identify what that looked like. Create your process and go get it. Nope, nothing can stop you but you.
So y'all heard that, right? Nothing can stop you but you. So, Jamie, thank you for your patience. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your heart today. I definitely want you to come back so we can have a better visit. And this conversation
Anytime.
was, I mean, even what I was able to hear, the conversation was so powerful. I know it's going to help so many people.
I hope so.
But before we end, Jamie, tell everyone how they can follow you. And if you have any events coming up, how can they support you?
Okay. Well, I'm on social media, Facebook, Jamie Kirk, Instagram, I am Jamie Kirk, TikTok, I am Jamie Kirk. Um, I don't have any events coming up, but my nonprofit, we're always taking sponsors and donations for upcoming prom, graduation, hygiene products for our unhoused teens in the high school. And so we do have a high school that we support. And so we're taking constant donations right now. Our website is www.a, the letter N, the letter B, mentalhealthandwellness.com.
And we'll put everything in the chat so you can see it, so you can make sure you support her. Tell everybody when they can get your book, or if it's already out, or can they pre-order?
So that you can okay. So it's out. You can get it on Amazon. It's available on Amazon. But if you want our special, then you can pre-order. So what I'm doing, because I'm releasing the new book, Love Like a Business: 7 Principles for Building Intentional, Healthy, and Lasting Relationships. And so the book on Amazon is about $25. But what I'm doing is I'm doing a special, and for $50 you will get the Love Like a Business book. You will get the Hustler's Manuals, a guide to taking control of your life, goal setting workbook. You will also get the relationship workbook, which helps you with your relationship with yourself. Now, if you want to add the grief workbook for additional $5, that will be available with this packet as well. So a total of 55, you can get all 4 workbooks.
Amazing. And they can look at that on your website.
Yes, they can
Okay,
find
give
that
them the
on the
website
website.
again so they can make sure they get it.
Well, the website for the books is www.thejamiekirk.com.
All
Simple.
right. So again, thank you. Oh, you have no idea. I appreciate you for your patience. And
No
I would love to
problem.
have you back next month because I've started a community for menopausal women. And I know with self care and self love and things like that, it would be awesome for you to come back next month if you don't mind. And let's talk about that.
Okay,
Awesome.
that'll work for me.
Thank you so much. And so let me tell you all what I got going on right now. So I have a new product line called Bloom Again Wellness. Um,
Okay.
and Bloom Again Wellness actually was born out of my own experience. I spent so much time pouring into others that eventually I looked up and realized I was losing myself in the process. So during that time, I also began noticing a transition that many women navigate in silence, perimenopause and
Mhm.
menopause. Between the emotional
Oof.
shifts, the physical changes, it's easy to feel like you've lost touch with who you are. So that's why I built Bloom Again Wellness. It's for every woman in that season who needs to know she is seen, supported, and worthy of deep care. And
Yeah.
because restoration belongs to everyone, I also developed the King's line. Men deserve the same intentionally and space for self care too. So ultimately, this is more than just a skincare. It's about
Yeah.
reclaiming your identity and finding the strength to bloom again. And it's the Kings and Queens collection. So it's coming soon. So look out for it. So
Oh, good.
and as yes, I have like in it for the women, we have Cool Her Down. We have an elixir as well as a cream. We have the Secret Bloom Intimate Cream, and you can understand what that is because with women, some of the things women deal with, sometimes they need a little help. And then we have a hormone balance cream because a lot of times when you go through menopause, your skin gets really dry. So with this,
Okay.
it helps your skin and everything. So look out for that. You all is coming soon. And as I mentioned about again, Jamie's upcoming book, Love Like a Business, dives deeper into how we can bring intention, structure, and accountability into our relationships so we can finally experience healthy, whole connections. So, to
Yes.
everyone listening, if this episode spoke to you, make sure you share it with someone who needs it because a lot of times we listen to things and we hear somebody going through something, and sometimes it is what takes 2 seconds or 2 minutes to share something that might benefit them. So let's do
Mm-hmm.
that. Let's be more intentional and love on each other and pour into each other so we can all just because we got so much stuff going on right now. We all need to just stand together and just pour into each other right now. So again,
Yes.
this is from Hurt to Heal, and your healing is possible. So thank you all, and I will see you next episode. Again, Jamie, thank you, and I look forward to you next month.
Thank
Hopefully, we'll
you.
have
Thank
less
you for having
issues
me.
then. Thank you. You all have a good one.
Bye bye.